Thanks for watching Not Gun Nuts. Somebody's mentioned, more than one person in fact, has mentioned the Dick Act of 1902, or the Efficiency of Militia Bill, H.R. 11654. And if you're listening to this for the first time, keep in mind I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a history expert, I'm not a firearms expert, I'm not a political expert. I'm just someone who's looking at information that's available to all of us, and I'm trying to make some sense of it and interpret it for us in a time when I think many people are behaving very irrationally about a lot of things, not just firearms, a lot of things. And now, let me start this by saying someone commented to me recently and said, "You have a very calm, reasoned way of presenting things, and that's cool." And I just want to say right now, I want to be very clear, I am not calm at all. I'm actually burning inside at how distorted and weak-minded we've become in some ways, and how much we surrender our control to cheap entertainment, false leadership, ignorance, and lazy thinking. What I am is composed, and I'm composed because I think that's what's lacking with so many people around the world today, including our top leadership. And I think this should be evident in all areas of the world around you, starting with the most basic observation that most people aren't even competent enough to properly use a turn indicator while driving, much less to maintain and culture true principles of first, responsibility, then rights and freedoms. So I'm definitely not calm. I'm composed, because composure is probably the first and most important tool the founders of this country had above all else. None of what they did or established could have been possible without composure. If something catches fire, you can either flail around in terror or you can snuff out the flames. That choice is yours. I choose composure in all things. And right now, particularly with regard to the assault on firearms owners, I urge everyone to maintain composure. And one of the best ways to do that is to educate yourself as much as possible about the reality of the situation we're all in. So anyway, that's my preamble. Back to the Dick Act. People wanted to talk about this because a lot of people are saying this. They're using this as a way to say, well, listen, the Dick Act basically invalidates all gun control laws. And they cite it and they link it and things like that. And that's great. And I'm going to read primarily what the Dick Act says in general, and then I'll talk about it a little bit. But this is generally what you hear about the Dick Act. Quote, the Dick Act of 1902, also known as the Efficiency of Military Bill, H.R. 11654, of June 28, 1902, invalidates all so-called gun control laws. It also divides the militia into three distinct separate entities, and ... And I'll post this entire quote in the description below so you can read it on your own. But to me, basically, when I read the Dick Act, the sense that I get is that it establishes organization of militia. And there are words in there that talk about firearms ownership and who can and the age groups and things like that. And that's great. Feel free from that point to interpret it however you want. Do as much research on it you want, and if there's something that actually supports anti-gun control, that's great, use that. But never forget the Second Amendment. And I say this, be very careful using the Dick Act as an argument for your right to keep and bear arms, because the Second Amendment is the prime right, and it's the understanding that you have that right. It's not given to you by someone else. It's merely understanding and recognition of that right. So it's from that I say be careful with the Dick Act, because this in itself could be considered a form of gun control in that it states who is able to own firearms. By using this to support the right to keep and bear arms, it's nearly admitting the Second Amendment itself is up for question. Our founding fathers were very clear, and they stated it very simply: shall not be infringed. And also, despite much of the rhetoric that attempts to convince people this right comes from some ancient document and has no relevance today, the framers stated it, as well as everything they said at the time, in a way that made it clear those principles were to stand for all time. Not 1 week, not 1 day, all time. They did not say the right to keep and bear arms this week or this year because of some current event. They lived amidst and had for centuries witnessed the horrors of human nature as much as anyone does today. They understood the absolute requirement for individual rights to bear arms. There was no false sense that if they just banned rifles, threats to their individual or collective safety, foreign or domestic, would just somehow go away. It was exactly the opposite, in fact. They knew threats, local and widespread, would always be there, and as such, shall not be infringed. So, take a look at the Dick Act. But your right to keep and bear arms cannot be summarized there. It is a natural right to individual and collective self-defense, period. This applies within the home you lay your head down in at night, as well as within the nation you call your home. And now again, I don't claim to be right about any of this. This is just my deep personal sense about what we're dealing with. The next time you leave your house, know that around you are many, many, many gun owners, many, many firearms owners, and I would like you to pay special attention to how little mass shootings and gun violence are occurring around you that day. For that, you can thank all of the responsible gun owners in this country who wish you no harm at all, and in fact, might just have your back when the time comes. Support gun owners, protect the Second Amendment. Thanks for watching Not Gun Nuts.